好，都差唔多啦。
I think that's about it. Thank you so much. Friends of the media, good afternoon. Thank you for coming to this press conference on the policy address. In a moment, the Chief Executive will first speak using a PowerPoint before she takes questions from the floor. Now, because of the pandemic, and we have a packed room here, but please try to keep your distance as far as possible. Now, I invite the Chief Executive to say a few words. Friends of the media, members of the public, today I delivered my last policy address in my term. The policy address is titled Building a Bright Future Together. Well, it is a substantial report covering many aspects, so therefore at the policy address I would like to highlight a few key areas of our work. First, there are quite a number of publications issued together with the policy address. Now we have the policy address speech, of course, and the relevant leaflet. And then this year, like in the past 2 years, there is a policy address supplement. As I explained yesterday, the supplement reported our work in the past 4 years, and there are over 300 new initiatives in the supplement too. And then there's another document that's of great interest to the public. That is the Northern Metropolis Development Strategy. So we are publishing the report in English and Chinese at the same time with the policy address. We've also prepared a leaflet. And then the third document is the 14th five-year plan, which shows the central government's support for Hong Kong to develop in 8 different centres. So we have a fact sheet kit this time to explain the advantages of Hong Kong, our present situation, and what measures we're going to take to further develop these centres. So that's the third document. The fourth document is that we want to improve the relationship between the executive and the legislature. The next LegCo will commence. Next term of the LegCo will commence on the 1st of January 2022. So we are preparing a list of legislative proposals for the 7th term. And members will be able to give their views on what they think about these legislative proposals in advance. And then we're going to publish 2 other documents in the next 2 days. They are included in the policy address. One is the final report of the Hong Kong 2030 Plus. Now we've been working on this for some time, and tomorrow the Secretary for Development will be publishing the final report. And of course, that is the Hong Kong 2030 Plus towards a planning vision and strategy transcending 2020. I think what will be of great interest to the public would be our estimate on the land required in Hong Kong. The other report to be published tomorrow will be the Hong Kong's Climate Action Plan 2050. It will set a medium to long-term goals on how we could achieve carbon neutrality by 2050. So you could look out for these documents to be published in the next day or 2. Now, I would like to allow more time for questions, so I will just highlight 3 key aspects of the policy address. One, of course, is the Northern Metropolis Development Strategy. The other is the building of an international innovation and technology center. Third is land supply and housing supply. For the Northern Metropolis development. Well, you heard my speech, but maybe you still were asking a question as to what is meant by a northern metropolis. In metropolis, it should cover various development. There should be job opportunities. There should be housing, and also recreational facilities and so on. And together, they will form a metropolis. In Hong Kong, of course, Hong Kong as a whole is a metropolis in Asia. But then if you want to pick an area in Hong Kong that has the characteristics of a metropolis, definitely we'll pick the two sides of the Victoria Harbour. That is the developments along the northern part of Hong Kong Island and also Kowloon in Kowloon. And so that's why Hong Kong has become an international financial and business center. Our first core business district is in Central. The second one is in Kowloon East. So this is the Victoria Harbour metropolis. If we want to build another metropolis in Hong Kong, we have picked the location of the north, and it's only a matter of course because it's still underdeveloped, so there's a potential. The northern metropolis is now shown here in the dotted line area that covers the northern administrative district as well as the Yuen Long administrative district. It covers an area of 300 square kilometers. You know, in Hong Kong, we have a size of 1,100 square kilometers, so it's about 30% of the total area of Hong Kong, and that will be covered in the northern metropolis. We keenly look forward to well-developed metropolis in the north and in the south. In the south, that's the harbour metropolis. In the north, it will be the northern metropolis. So they will have their own characteristics, and they will be, you know, developing in different areas. Now, for harbour metropolis doesn't mean we're not going to do anything because it's developed. Of course, the harbour metropolis, the most important development would be the Khao Yi Chao artificial islands that will be included in the harbour metropolis. So the third CBD would be built after reclamation of the Khao Yi Chao artificial islands. The Khao Yi Chao artificial islands are going to provide a large number of jobs and also housing units. So here we're talking about the north and the south. There will be two metropolises. They will develop in tandem in promoting the development of Hong Kong. Now, for the northern metropolis, it's not true that it's a purely virgin district. We already have new towns here in Jiangshui, Fanling, and so on. And then you see the different colored development nodes. These are new development nodes, but then these nodes are being developed independently. For example, Yuen Long South, Hong Shui Kiu, Ha Chun, Man Kam To node, or the future NT North new town. But then with the northern metropolis, we're going to integrate these developments so they linked to each other in some ways, and then there will be strategic development of the metropolis as a whole. Now, there is no need to give a legal definition for the metropolis or to define its boundaries legally. There's also no need to change the boundaries of, say, the Yuen Long administrative district and so on, because if the metropolis is developing well, and it could be further extended to the south or north, either towards Shenzhen or other parts of the new territories. Now, of course, there is close cooperation between Shenzhen and Hong Kong. The metropolis is just a river away from Shenzhen, and you know, many people have to go to Shenzhen for business, investment, or work. There are already 7 land crossings. One of the crossings has co-location facilities and Shenzhen Bay, but it's still one of the land boundary control points. And you see these dots here show the land crossings. As you have heard, we've described these land crossings to be the busiest crossings anywhere in the world. There are some 600,000 to 700,000 people going through these boundary control points between Hong Kong and Shenzhen. There is much significance in the development of the northern metropolis. Now we have enacted the national security law, and then we have improved the electoral system. We're going back on the right track of one country, two systems, so that allows us more opportunities to be integrated into the national development. Therefore, we should not be hampered by any administrative boundaries. So you can see that this is the first development strategy of the SL government that's groundbreaking. We have looked beyond the physical boundaries of Hong Kong and Shenzhen, and we're looking further to the north. Hopefully then we could create synergy. And as I have explained in the policy address, we want 1 + 1 to be equal more than 2, so that will be complementing each other's strengths. Now, of course, there are other cities nearby, Shenzhen, Macau, and so on, but Shenzhen is the biggest partner of Hong Kong. So hopefully then with this metropolis, we could leverage on the functions of Hong Kong and Shenzhen as the dual engines for development. Now, of course, if we don't do this, what is planned will still happen, but then there won't be interaction or integration. Now, with this strategy, we're able to further integrate the various developments. Now, within the Northern Metropolis area, there are 300 square kilometers of development on transportation links, and then we could therefore create more land for housing and other purposes. And that's the second one. Third point is that we have learned from the experience of developing new towns. Now, every time our objective is self-sufficiency, but we're never able to achieve that objective. That's why for residents from Tin Shui Wai, they have to make long commutes to get to work. So that's something we want to see improvement. So with the Northern Metropolis, we want to further improve upon, further enhance the innovation and technology development systems in the area. Now, for the Harbour Metropolis, development is led by the financial services and business sectors, and they're able to create a large number of jobs. So for Northern Metropolis, development will be led by innovation and technology. Now, for Northern Metropolis area, most are still undeveloped land, so there is a rich ecosystem and rich habitats. So that's why we want to make sure there is rural, urban development. And so we are trying to enhance the environmental capacity of the area as we try to strive for urban-rural integration. So for the Northern Metropolis, it will be a place good for living in, for working in, and for spending leisure time. Now, as I said, Hong Kong and Shenzhen is separated just by a river. We have the two bays and one river geographically. That is the Shenzhen Bay and the Myers Bay. And then in the middle, there's the Shenzhen River. So those form the boundaries for the two places. Because the State Council said before that the middle of the Shenzhen River is the administrative boundary for Shenzhen and Hong Kong. And then on top of that, we have 7 land crossings. So we are going to move in the direction of Twin Cities 3 circles. The two cities, of course, Shenzhen and Hong Kong. The 3 circles are from the west to the east. From the west, we have the Shenzhen Bay Quality Development Circle. We're just starting development here, Hongshui, Kiu, Hachin, and Lao Fao Shan. So there's much flexibility in shaping the development there. So at the outset, we're going to provide quality industrial development. And then further to the east, we have the Qianhai. Of course, the extended Qianhai cooperation zone will reach the coast of the bay. And so this 120 square kilometers of the extended Qianhai Cooperation Zone would allow for co-development with Laofoshan, so we could develop a quality development circle there for quality services. And then the circle in the middle, that's high density of development because everything is concentrated here, the Mankam Toll crossing, Lok Ma Chau, Law Wu crossings, and even Hangyuan crossings, they're all here. So in this circle, it will become the Hong Kong Shenzhen Close Interaction Circle. We want to identify room for close cooperation between Shenzhen and Shenzhen, in terms of medical care, innovation, technology, and education, and so on. The third circle, what you see is green here. So this is where there is rich habitat. So this will become the Myers Bay Yan Chao Tong Eco Recreation Tourism Circle. So Twin Cities 3 circles. In the 3 circles, they have their own special features. And at the same time, there will be certain lanes to integrate them into metropolis development. Now, for this metropolis development strategy, it remains a concept at this stage, but we've done much in the past 3-4 months. As you know, I've engaged the former director of planning, Mr. Ling Ka-keung, to be my advisor. So that's why we have now come up with 45 action plans and 10 directions. Well, we're numbering them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just so it's easy for you to remember. If you go through the report, you will see the alignment, the initial, preliminary alignment of the different new rail projects. There are 5 new rail projects. The first one is the Hong Shui Kiu Ha Chun rail link that will extend to Qianhai. It is a cross-boundary rail link, so that means there will be need for new boundary control point, and we want there to be co-location arrangement. We've already reserved several hectares of land there for a cross-boundary rail station. The second link is the northern link that will be extended further northwards to go via the Hong Kong Shenzhen Innovation and Technology Park in Ma Chau Loop to reach the new Huanggang BCP. Again, land has been reserved for linking up this section of the rail line. The third extension, the third rail project is the East Rail Line, which is already much used by the public. The Reach East Rail Line ends at cross-boundary Law Wu Station, and we've talked to the Shenzhen authorities. We could extend this line eastwards further to cross the Shenzhen River, so we could reach the Law Wu Station in Shenzhen, and then there could be co-location facilities. So again, we'll be able to free up some land, like in the case for the Huanggang port, because we're extending the clearance facilities to the other side of the river. So with this extension of the East Rail Line, now before the Law Wu station, but in between Law Wu and Sheung Shui station, we could add another station, and we will temporarily call it the Law Wu South station. It's not for cross-boundary purpose, but it's really for residential and business purpose. And the fourth line is the northern link moving eastwards this time. So we will go via Law Wu, Hangyuan Way, Ping Che, Ta Kwu Ling, and Queen's Hill, where there will be a population intake at public housing estate. And that could be then linked up with the East Rail Line again. The fifth project is not necessarily a rail project. It could be an automated people mover. It could be a monorail between Tsim Pei Chau and Lo Fo Shan. And it will be facing Qianhai. So it will be a nice coastal link with beautiful scenery. So these are 5 new railway projects. And then we're able to identify 4 other housing land for large-scale housing projects is on top of what we have planned. We have already the Yuen Long South, Santin, and so on. These projects will go ahead because the Development Bureau has been making plans for that. But then we are able to enhance the capacity. For example, along Hong Shui Kiu, Ha Chun, and then La Foshan Park Nai, Ku Tong, Ma Chou Long. And also, when we have the new Lowu South Station along Man Kam To, there could be also more development. But of course, development has to coexist with conservation. So we are building 3 new wetland parks in Nam Shen Wei, Shanpo Shu, and Ho Kok Hui. And there won't be development in these areas. In fact, we're going to resume some private fish ponds for better management. And then that means we will have these outdoor recreational facilities on 2 spots. One is an and urban rural greenway that traverses countryside and along the stream course. So it will be the first trail not in a country park. The other is the Coastal Protection Park and Waterfront Promenade from Chim Pei Choi to Pak Nai, where there is beautiful scenery. We're going to build the Santin Technopole there with an area of 1,100 hectares. About 150 hectares will be reserved for I&T development. The floor area will be 16.5% of the science park in Park Shek. So this is a huge project, and that gives us the confidence to develop Hong Kong into an international I&T center.
Moving on to the next subject. Now we talk about building Hong Kong into an international innovation technology center. The measures are in different chapters, so I would like to give you a highlight how we can develop Hong Kong into an international innovation and technology center in the GBA. In the past 4 years, we have invested $130 billion into this area. The money was well spent. Now the ecosystem is thriving. If you ask any practitioners, they would tell you that we have ushered into a golden era. The Central People's Government also spare no efforts in investing in innovation technology. From the Ministry of Science and to municipal governments, they have been very supportive to development of innovation technology. In this policy address, I mentioned that we would build a more comprehensive I&T ecosystem. Of course, we need infrastructure. We have a shortage of infrastructure and land. So we are going to provide a massive amount of infrastructure. First, we will have an extension of the Pak Shek Kok Science Park. There are some 900 companies there with some 15,000 R&D facilities there. After moving the Ma Liu Shui, after the reclamation of Ma Liu Shui and the relocation of the Sha Tin sewage treatment plants, we will be able to free up a lot of area for the extension. Now, residents are worried that there will be traffic congestion. However, there will be home-job synergy, and it will not create a huge burden for the transportation system. The Pak Shek Kok Science Park is our flagship infrastructure for innovation and technology. So we have to enhance the public transport connection between Pak Shek Kok and the urban area. That's why we are going to add a new station near the university station. The name is still to be confirmed. We have to add this new station. Near the East Rail, there is a plot of site. Currently, it is a sports venue for the Hong Kong Education University students. They can come to this sports facilities to play sports. This is not very desirable. The president of the Hong Kong Education University told me that he would like to relocate the sports facility to a site next to the Education University and free up the site for building this station.
And so on top of the station, we could build public housing, private housing, parking spaces, and shopping malls. As for the University of Education sports ground, we have made arrangement for that. We're going to help them reprovision their sports facilities that would become more convenient for their students. The third project is the Phase 5 Cider Port. Building area floor area will be increased by 40%. And then for the development in Lau Fau Shan facing Shanghai, we would like to have a flagship innovation and technology project. It may not be called the cyber part, but it will be something, a place where IT sectors could put their business in. And then the fourth is to build a Sentin Technopole, and that's building Hong Kong's Silicon Valley. Now, it will be 540 hectares. 300 hectares will be in Shenzhen, that is the Shenzhen Hong Kong I&T Park. It will be along the port economic belt that covers Futian. Now, there are just 87 hectares originally in the Lok Ma Chau Loop, and then in Sentin, we are able to identify another 150 hectares of land for I&T purposes. So together, we have 247 hectares, 300 hectares in Shenzhen, so in total about 540 hectares. So it is an I&T zone with some obvious advantage. So Shenzhen and Hong Kong are going to join hands to develop this 540 hectares of I&T zone, and then we will have the relevant talents and businesses here. Definitely, we would be comparable to the Silicon Valley. And then fifthly, these three universities would like to build their more laboratories and R&D facilities. For Hong Kong U, we're going to give them a site in Fu Lam, and for the Chinese University, there is a site also for them. For the Polytechnic University, is in a developed area, so it's hard to give them more land. But then the Polytechnic University has another site for self-financing courses. So when I visited the university, they asked for government support to turn that campus into R&D purpose, and I fully support that proposal. Now, I&T cannot just be stuck at the academic or R&D stage. There has to be commercialization of R&D results. And to achieve that, we need reindustrialization. We need to have industrial manufacturing for us to apply technologies on a large scale. Now, many have said that there are few industries left in Hong Kong. In the past few months, I've been talking more to the industrial sector. I'm grateful to the Federation of Industries. They have prepared important research report for Hong Kong. And from that report, I've drawn inspiration. In Hong Kong, we do have the potential for smart manufacturing or manufacturing driven by innovation and technology. Now, in Science Park, there is the first AMC in Tseung Kwan O. It's very popular. Before it's completed, many have asked to lease the place. So we should, therefore, enhance our support for such manufacturing, the smart manufacturing. We're going to build a second AMC, and then for Sentin, we're going to have a new policy for granting land for manufacturers driven by I&T, for example, high-end pharmaceutical factories. They could do R&D here and then manufacture also here. Now, to show that we attach great importance to such developments, that's why I'm proposing to rename the Innovation and Technology Bureau into the Innovation, Technology and Industry Bureau. So at least for this part about I&T development, I&T manufacturing certainly would come under the Innovation, Technology, Industry Bureau. And then we have other new platforms for R&D. One is Inno centers. One is for life health tech, and the other for robotics. Now we have already introduced 28 laboratories here. Each laboratory partners with a university. I've visited 2 such labs myself. They really do have great potential. Now, we're going to build the 3rd Inno Center on life health. Because in the 14th five-year plan, life sciences are a key in development because we want our people to live healthily. So therefore, we're going to set up the Inno Life Health Tech Hub. On talents, last year I introduced some projects. They've been very successful. Some 40 that is the STEM progress. There are some 40 teams already in Hong Kong. More will be coming to Hong Kong. Now, apart from government investment, we could also encourage private investment. So there is a future fund in the Hong Kong Group portfolio. There should be more investment in local companies. That is venture companies. Of land and housing supply. This is, of course, a priority area of our work. In this slide, you can see future land and housing supply. I stress that we have to keep up a persistent effort in the land and housing supply. We must not stop such efforts just because, say, property prices are dropping. It happened in the past. That's why we have seen the difficulties now. So that's why I've always said that we need to have a persistent land and housing supply policy. If we keep up our effort, then some 1 million residential units will be available in the market to meet the needs of the public. Of course, it may take 20 to 25 years, but it's a long-term goal. We want everyone to either be able to buy their own homes or to get rental housing. So, and then property prices will stabilize. So where we're going to get this 1 million units? First is the 10-year long-term housing strategy. Under the LTHS, we are able to achieve all the targets for public housing production. That's 310,000 units. Last year we managed to find 300 plus hectares. This year 350 hectares. So together we are able to build 310 and 1,000 public housing units. And also we need private housing, of course. We sell land. There are MTR projects, and also there's lease modification or redevelopment projects. So together, these projects would give us. And then in the policy address, we are saying that there will be 170 hectares of land provided by the government for private housing production. And that does not count, units arising from lease modification, redevelopment, and so on. So we want to achieve the 10-year target of 129,000 private housing units, and it won't be difficult at all. If you attended the press conference by Mr. Michael Wong last week on land and housing supply, and then you see that in the third quarter, you see 80% of the land came from the government. In fact, from January to August this year, much of the housing supply came from private land supply, either through lease modification or urban renewal. So in the next decade, definitely we're able to achieve the target of private housing production, but it's not included in this total figure here. Here, the total figure only covers the land that's under the control of the government, the 170 hectares of land under the government control. And then if we look at an even longer term for projects that are being planned, that is the Khao Yi Chao Artificial Islands Reclamation Project, and also projects already planned for the northern part of the new territories. There will be another 400 to 500,000 units for both public and private housing. Now, of course, we're going to split that 70 to 30 in terms of public and private housing. But then here we're talking 400 to 500,000 units. And then with the Northern Metropolis Development Strategy announced today, they would provide another 165,000 to 186,000 units in the private and public sector. So in total, we could have a range of 995,000 to 1.1 million units. But that's not actually the total number because we're not counting land in the hand of private developers. I'm just talking about units that could be produced on land under the control of the government. But then, as you know, private developers also hold large area of land. So if we could just streamline further the reference processes and there could be further sharing of land and we could release more land, then we could be producing even more land for housing production. So that means we could produce more than 1.1 million units. You might ask, $1 million units extra, what does that mean in reality? Now, at the moment, we have 2.94 million units in Hong Kong. So 1 million units means about 40 to 38% of the current stock. So it's a huge increase. We have a low fertility rate, birth rate, and we have an aging population. Even if we're going to recruit talents, the growth in the population would not be at this rate. That's why I'm confident that if we could produce the units, we will be able to resolve the housing issue completely. But before that, of course, we still need to help the public who are inadequately housed. So that's why we're increasing transition housing units from 15,000 to 20,000. As for the 3-year cash allowance trial scheme, that's still underway, and if necessary, we will extend the cash scheme to help the inadequate housed and or those who are on the waiting list for public housing. To sum up, under the dual safeguards of national security and the Patriots administering Hong Kong, we are at a time where we have the most confidence and the foundations for implementing the visions of this policy address. But of course, we still need the support of the public, and that's why the title of this policy address is Building a Bright Future Together. Thank you.